Summary of the Jew of Malta by Christopher Marlowe. Most people assume Machiavel is dead, but his soul lives on and he's come from France to England to have fun. Machiavel's name is odious to many, however, those who hate him the most, including those who ascend to the papacy, are also the ones who respected him the most. Machiavel thinks that religion is a childish toy, and that ignorance is the only sin. A lot of people call what he does murder, but Machiavel thinks this is silly because strong countries need strong leaders who rule with might. But Machiavel isn't here to talk about himself. He's here to talk about the tragedy of a Jew, who smiles when he sees how full his bags are. Barabbas is the Jew, got his gold through Machiavel's means, but Machiavel asks the crowd not to be too hard on Barabbas. They should judge him based on what he has done, not because he believes in Machiavellianism. Barabbas walks into his counting house and sees piles of gold all around him. 3 Jews walk in and tell Barabbas that a fleet of Turks is coming. Men are afraid of war, but Barabbas calms them down. He says that Malta is working with the Ottoman Empire and that the fleet must be coming in peace. But Barabbas says in a short aside that he doesn't care much about Malta or the other Jews. The Turks can go to war as much as they want, but they should leave Barabbas, his gold, and Abigail alone. The guys tell Barabbas that there will be a meeting at the Senate House, and that every Jew in Malta is expected to be there. In the meantime, Farnese, the governor of Malta, and Selim Kalamath, the son of the Turkish emperor, go into the Senate House. Malta owes the Turks tax money for 10 years, but to avoid war, Kalamath gives Farnese 30 days to get the money. Barabbas and the other Jews are brought in, and Farnese tells them that the Turks have come to get their payment money, which is more than Malta has. So, each Jew in Malta must give up half of his or her wealth to pay the bill. If they don't agree, the government will take everything they own and force them to become Christians. Barabbas asks if everyone in Malta will have to pay taxes. Farnese says that only the Jews are accursed in the eyes of heaven, so they are the only ones who will have to pay. Barabbas says he won't become a Christian, and he also won't give Malta half of his wealth. Farnese says that all of Barabbas's money will go to Malta. Barabbas reluctantly agrees to pay half, but Farnese says it's too late because Barabbas has already said no, and now Malta owns all of his money. As the Jews are being led out of the Senate House, a knight suggests turning Barabbas's home into a convent for nuns. Farnese thinks it's a good idea to change Barabbas's house, so he and his men leave. Barabbas says to himself that Farnese will not get away with stealing his money, and he promises to get even. Abigail runs in crying because she has been kicked out of their house, which is now being turned into a convent. Abigail should not worry, Barabbas tells her. He has stored bags of gold and jewels under the stairs, which is enough money to get them going again. Barabbas tells Abigail to go back to the house and ask to become a nun. He says, we should make a rule that there are no rules. So, she can find the gold that is hidden under the floorboards. For religion, says Barabbas, keeps many wrongdoings from being found out. Abigail resists. She says that lying like this is wrong, but Barabbas is able to change her mind. He says, fake passion is better than hidden hypocrisy. Abigail asks to join the nunnery when Giacomo and Bernardine, 2 friars, pass her on their way to the new convent. The friars are happy to be able to turn a Jew, so they agree to take Abigail to the convent. Later that night, Barabbas shows up in front of his old house, and Abigail drops the bags of gold on the ground. "Oh, my girl, / my gold, my fortune, my happiness," says Barabbas as he holds the bags close to his body. Abigail tells him that the nuns will soon wake up, so he takes his gold and runs away. At the same time, Farnese comes in with Vice Admiral of Spain Marin del Bosco. Bosco wants to sell a lot of Turkish slaves, but Farnese tells him that this is against Malta's treaty with the Turks. Bosco is surprised that Farnese is working with the Turks, so he offers Farnese a way to keep the 100,000 crowns that Malta owes to the Ottoman Empire. If Farnese lets Bosco sell his slaves, he will protect Malta from the Turks and keep his ship there until Malta is safe. Farnese agrees right away. "So we will fight it out," Farnese says as he leaves with Bosco and the guards. Blood, not gold, is the price of honor. Barabbas goes to the market the next day to buy a slave. He has a lot of money in his pockets and has already bought a new house that is even bigger than Farnese. Barabbas watches as Don Lodowick, Farnese's son, comes into the market. Barabbas also promises to get even with Lodowick for the sin of being Farnese's son, and he goes up to the young man. Don Matthias told Lodowick about Barabbas's beautiful daughter, Abigail. Lodowick has come to the market to see if he can see Abigail. He asks Barabbas if he has any gems to sell. Barabbas tells him that Abigail is the only diamond he has left. Lodowick is interested, and Barabbas tells him to come talk about price with him later. Lodowick leaves, and Barabbas buys Ithamore, a thin Turkish slave. Soon after that, Matthias and his mother, Catherine, come in. Matthias asks Barabbas in a quiet voice why he was talking to Lodowick. Barabbas tells him not to worry. Barabbas tells Matthias that he will be the one to marry Abigail because Lodowick is interested in a diamond and not Abigail. Barabbas learns about his new slave while he is alone with Ithamore. Ithamore, like Barabbas, hates Christians and kills them whenever he can. Lodowick comes back and asks about the diamond, so Barabbas yells for Abigail. In a short aside, Barabbas gets Abigail to act like she loves Lodowick, even though she really loves Matthias. Abigail isn't sure, but Barabbas tells her that it's just for show. Barabbas is happy about his policy. He will send a fake letter to Matthias and invite him to a fight as Lodowick. The two men will definitely kill each other, completing Barabbas's plan. Since the Turks stopped Malta's port, Bellamira, a local prostitute, has lost a lot of business. Pelia Borza, her friend who is a thief, comes in and gives her a small bag of cash that he stole from Barabbas's counting house. Ithamore walks by the beautiful Bellamira and falls in love with her right away. Pelia Borza and Bellamira run away, and Ithamore takes the fake letter to its destination. Matthias and Lodowick come in later, while Barabbas watches from above. Matthias and Lodowick pull out their swords and kill each other by stabbing each other. As Barabbas sneaks out of the room without being seen, Farnese and Catherine come in and find their boys dead. They realize quickly that someone must have made the men fight each other, and they vow to get back at whoever did it. Farnese and Catherine leave with their dead boys, and Ithamore comes in with Abigail. She asks him what's so funny, and he tells her about Barabbas's fake letter and the deadly fight between Lodowick and Matthias. Abigail joins the order again, but this time for good. Her father had betrayed her, and she was sad about losing her true love, Matthias. Barabbas is angry when he finds out what Abigail did, so he quickly comes up with another plan. He puts poison in a pot of rice and tells Ithamore to take it to the convent. Once Abigail drinks the poison, it will take 40 hours for it to kill her and everyone else in the nunnery. As Farnese and Bosco prepare Malta for an attack by the Turks, Abigail goes to see Bernardine to say her last word. All of the nuns are dead, and Abigail will die soon, too. She tells Bernardine everything Barabbas did to cause the deaths of Matthias and Lodowick, and then she dies. Later, when Barabbas and Ithamore are having a party because funeral bells are ringing, Bernardine and Giacomo walk in. Barabbas knows that the two friars know he had something to do with the deaths of Matthias and Lodowick. He also knows that he needs to get rid of the friars. Barabbas and Ithamore kill Bernardine by strangling him. They then blame Giacomo for his death and bring the monk to court. As Giacomo is being hung, Pelia Borza gives Ithamore a message from Bellamira in which she tells him how much she loves him, even though she knows it's not true. He goes to see her right away, and Bellamira and Pelia Borza make it easy for Ithamore to get money from Barabbas. Ithamore first asks for 300 crowns, then 500 crowns, but Barabbas won't pay so quickly. He finally agrees to send Ithamore a few silver coins, and then he quickly starts planning how to kill Bellamira, Pelia Borza, and Ithamore. Barabbas comes in dressed as a French singer while Ithamore, Bellamira, and Pelia Borza drink and celebrate their easy money. He gives Bellamira a flower, which she smells and then gives to Borza and Ithamore. As they smell the flower, Barabbas smiles and leaves. The flower is full of the same poison that killed Abigail and the nuns. It won't be long until Bellamira and Borza turn on Ithamore and tell Farnese everything he did wrong with Barabbas. Farnese tries to talk to Ithamore and Barabbas, but they and Bellamira and Borza all die before he can. Farnese tells the people who died to bury their bodies, except for Barabbas. Barabbas is thrown over the city walls so that birds can eat him. Barabbas wakes up as soon as he hits the ground. He had taken something to make him sleepy to trick Farnese's men. As Calamath gets closer, Barabbas offers to help the Turks take over Malta. Then, Calamath is so grateful that he makes Barabbas the new ruler of Malta. Barabbas asks Farnese, who is alone with him, what killing Calamath and freeing Malta from the Turks would be worth to the Christians. Farnese tells Barabbas that doing something like this would be worth great sums of money, so Barabbas quickly comes up with a new plan. Before Calamath and his men leave for Turkey, he will ask them to a feast. Calamath will eat with Barabbas, and his men will eat in a monastery outside of town. Then, Barabbas will blow up the monastery and drop Calamath through a trapdoor into a pot of hot water, killing him. After he hears the gun hit the abbey, Barabbas only needs Farnese to cut the trapdoor's rope. Farnese agrees, but when Calamath comes and the cannon hits the abbey, Farnese cuts the rope just a moment too early, dropping Barabbas into the pot instead. As Barabbas is dying, Farnese tells Calamath that all of his men are dead and takes him into custody. Calamath begs Farnese to let him go, but Farnese says no. Calamath will stay in their custody, and they will never be able to take over Malta again. As they leave, Farnese tells them, "So march away, and give praise not to fate or fortune, but to heaven."
About the author. Christopher Marlowe's exact date of birth is not known, but he was baptized on February 26, 1564, when he was a baby. Marlowe was born in the city of Canterbury in Kent, England. He was the oldest son of John and Catherine Marlowe. Christopher Marlowe's father was a shoemaker, and as a child, he went to the King's School in Canterbury, which is the oldest public school in England. He was known as Kit. Later, he got a scholarship to go to Corpus Christi College at the University of Cambridge. In 1584, he got a Bachelor of Arts degree. Marlowe stayed at Cambridge and started studying for a Master of Arts degree. He finished his graduate studies in 1587, but his degree was at first held back because he missed so much school. He got his degree in the end because Queen Elizabeth I insisted that Marlowe's absences were because he was doing good service for England. No one knows what kind of service Marlowe offered, which has led people to think for a long time that Marlowe may have been a spy working for England and the Queen. Dido, Queen of Carthage, is thought to have been Marlowe's first play, which he wrote while he was at Cambridge. The first time the play was put on was the year Marlowe got his degree, but it wasn't released until after he died in 1594. Tamburlaine the Great, Marlowe's best-known play, was also first played in 1587. It was his first play to be put on in London. Then Marlowe wrote Tamburlaine the Great, Part 2. Both plays were published in 1590 and were a huge hit. The Jew of Malta was probably written around 1589, but it wasn't played until 1592, and it wasn't published until 1594. Edward II was Marlowe's next play. It was first played in July 1593, just a few weeks after Marlowe was killed at age 29. He is also known for the play Dr. Faustus, but no one knows when it was written or first put on. In the early 1590s, Marlowe shared a room with Thomas Kyd, who wrote the Spanish tragedy and was also an English writer. In May 1593, both men were arrested after forbidden books were found in their room. Kyd said that the insulting writing was by Marlowe when he was tortured, but Marlowe was later let go without punishment. Since the usual punishment for treason was death, Marlowe's apparent forgiveness made it more likely that he was a spy for the government. Marlowe was killed just a few days later, on May 30, 1593. Ingram Fraser, a rich businessman with ties to the English government and Queen Elizabeth I, is said to have stabbed him to death. Most of what happened when Marlowe died is unknown, and Fraser was let off in the end because he was acting in self-defense. Marlowe was buried in London near St. Nicholas Church in an unknown grave, but Westminster Abbey has a memorial window in Poets' Corner to honor him and his work in both literature and theatre.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.